looks like we may have had a little stall in being live here, so we had a little technical difficulty, looks like. So just in case this is the beginning, I don't think it is, but I just want to make sure we all know we have Dennis Walsh here, the home place manager, and we're talking about the botanical gardens here at Stony Point. And he's already gone over a lot of this, but maybe back up just a little bit in case we dropped off.
Okay. Well, once again, we are standing in phase one of the gardens, and this gardens that you're looking at right now consists of a lot of repurposed materials. Rocks that you see in this water feature were unearthed and put together, and you can see a stone bench beyond these grasses. All of this was here as a structure of the garden. We had also talked about this being the historic campus of the National Historic Landmark. And up on the ridge beyond this point, you could see the lodge up there. That is built on 400 plus acres that we had purchased after beyond this campus here. So my team is responsible for the upkeep of those grounds as well.
Okay. And so you were telling us a lot of this was inspired by Colonel Blanton. Behind us is his house that we'll talk about in just a second again. But he was an avid gardener, right?
Colonel Blanton was an avid gardener and avid bird watcher. So he resided in this house, I believe, till he passed away, which I believe was 1957. So Colonel Blanton, he became president of the distillery in 1921. The house was built the year Prohibition ended in 1933. I believe on the National Historic Landmark document, it said they refer to the house as an arts and crafts style house. Beautiful stone, which I'd mentioned, this stone you could find all over the distillery. So really big boom post-Prohibition as the distillery grew. So you can actually see this same stone elsewhere in the distillery. Really neat feature of Buffalo Trace.
Great. So this is what you refer to as phase one. A lot of this was here, and you guys have restored most of this.
Yes, sir.
All right.
So of course, just like the distillery expanded, we had to expand the grounds. And Colonel Blanton, being an avid gardener, he had more garden areas. So what we're approaching now is our phase two gardens. Really neat features on these gardens. Once again, a lot of repurposed material. So we have a lot of stone that we repurposed. Directly in front of you, you could see some concrete foundations, which we believe to use as hothouses. So instead of tearing it all out and putting brand new in, we've repurposed those. Right now there's nothing growing, but typically we'll have experimental annual varieties or perennial varieties growing in there. So we had repurposed that. Of course, we've restored all the stonework, which you see in the stairs and the garage and all around. The smokehouse just above us was Colonel Blanton's. We also learned he was quite a cook, so he loved to cook as well. And his original garden shed there as well.
Okay, great.
Both those buildings were restored. The garden shed was rebuilt.
Let's go take a closer look at those. So we do have a question on Facebook from Mary Lintern. She asks, I'd like to know a little bit about some of the native plants you have here, and also any exotics or interesting plants that you brought in.
Okay. Well, a lot of our native plants, some of our, which I refer to them as kind of the structure, the backbones of the gardens, like your white oak here. Some of the bigger mature trees we have here, we have taken care of. We have put a lot of care into making sure that they survive and will survive for generations to see. Directly up here is something that's kind of a unique plant. I can tell a little story about this. So as a student in Ohio State, one of my favorite plants, because I remember walking around campus IDing plants, and this unique little porcelain berries is actually called porcelain vine. They come in variation of colors. But this vine, a really strong grower. You could see it climbed up this trellis really easily, but it's a beautiful vine. I love it, basically because of its name. It's Empolopsis brevipeduculata, for all those who want to learn a little Latin. So that always stuck out to me after learning it at Ohio State. So of course I had it planted here at Buffalo Trace. And as we walk through the gardens, you'll see a lot of the repurposed stone. We believe that this garage area, this concrete, where this arbor is, probably used to be a greenhouse. So we kept the concrete foundation and added the arbor. There's a nice exotic pine there, a Japanese white pine.
Yeah, and I'm noticing that everything is a lot of labels and signs. So for anybody that wants to come out and learn, it looks like there's plenty to identify with these signs.
Yeah, we are continually adding more, and the plan is to make sure we get a sign on everything. Because of the amount of visitors we get here, we would like, if you see something you like, we would like you to know what that is. So it's an educational experience. We do not have signs on everything, but we will certainly have signs on most everything, in the next few years.
Okay. It looks like the smokehouse behind us.
Yeah, that is the smokehouse. Probably built, somewhere late 1930s, right after the residence was built.
And then you mentioned the garden shed. Is that something you rebuilt or repurposed? Or?
What's nice about the garden shed is we not only rebuilt it, but we repurpose and we use that. So the Home Place team members keep garden supplies in there that they use daily here in the gardens. So
Colonel Blanton had a pretty nice spread up here, it looks like.
Yeah, it was a very nice area. In 2010, when we started phase 1, this was not kept after, so it was not in this shape, nearly this shape. So the team really worked hard to put it in the state that you see it now. So it's a lot of hours of work involved here, a lot of hours in maintenance to maintain it, but we're really proud of it. We're proud of the history here, and we feel we're just honoring Colonel Blanton and the legacy here at Buffalo Trace.
Yeah, it's I noticed a few people walking around when I first pulled up today. So is this 100% open to the public? And if so, what should they do to come up here?
So we're open to the public. The public typically will come here. A lot of photo shoots here, weddings and senior pictures and that sort of thing. However, with COVID, we have taken a lot of safety precautions. We are very serious about the safety of our visitors as well as our employees and anybody who visits Buffalo Trace. So we ask that anybody who does want to come and view the gardens, that they go to our website, buffalotracedistillery.com, and there is a protocol on there that will guide you in what you need to do to come here and visit. And once you're here, you'll be required to wear a mask and do some of the other protocols such as temperature screening. But please go to the website for that. But we welcome all visitors here.
Yeah, it's pretty nice. I can see there's probably a lot of photo ops here for, like you said, weddings or proms or just selfies.
A lot of that, a lot of selfies. I'll get off of work some days, walk out of Stony Point building there and walk to the parking lot over here to my car, and it's just a pleasure to see in the past, teenagers laying in hammocks, reading books, or people just strolling through the gardens. So, people do know about it. We want more people to know about it. Just a really peaceful, beautiful place to come and enjoy. Every garden is a garden because it changes. So, with the seasons, you have, different flowers, you have different textures, you have just different interests in the garden. So, and then you have, the garden grows and expands, and some things die and some things get replaced, some things get moved. So it's constant work, but it's the people who love gardening really appreciate that. So get a lot of repeat visitors just to see how everything is evolving here.
That's a good looking plant.
That is a ginkgo. It is a shrub form. I think it's called butterfly. Usually you'll see these in a tree, but this is a shrub form of ginkgo. really neat plant. We have a lot of unique plants here, and we will continue to add here and there to our collection. We do a lot of annual plantings, so we have seasonal color throughout the distillery. So you could come on any given day, and you'll see hanging baskets, and you'll see planters, and just landscape beds with some beautiful color all year round.
I'm seeing the famous water tower at Buffalo Trace Distillery behind us here.
That is an icon.
I guess not behind us, in front of us, but so that gives you a little idea where we are at the Stony Point Botanical Garden. We're up on the hill, so we're overlooking the distillery.
Yeah, we are overlooking the distillery. I believe at one point this was called Rock Hill, Stony Point. As we walk down further, I'll show you the reason why it's called Stony Point, or perhaps the reason why, I guess I should say. But yeah, it's a beautiful vantage point. You could oversee the whole distillery up here, see the lodge up on the on the slope. It's just a gorgeous vantage point. Walking through our pergola, so we do get a lot of small wedding ceremonies, and we do get a lot of pictures up in this area. This vine here is a wisteria vine, so when it blooms, it's full of beautiful blue blossoms, and really a great photo op. So we'll see a lot of people up here taking pictures up here.
It looks like your hydrangeas are full bloom behind us too.
Yeah, we've got several hydrangeas. So one of the neat parts of a garden is that able to look at different varieties. So the one in front of you is strawberry and vanilla, and you could probably see why. We've got the nice red in it. So we have a lot of variation in viburnums and hydrangeas and a lot of other plants.
Great. Yeah, I think it's great to point out that it is open to the public, and people can come up here and enjoy this. But again, make sure you go to the website and check all the boxes before you get here. But there's a few gardens on site. There's another one down by the clubhouse too, right? Elmer T. Lee?
Yeah, so behind the clubhouse we have beautiful waterfall and beautiful gardens behind the clubhouse. Clubhouse is very popular with our guests. A lot of weddings there, a lot of photos there as well. So the gardens do expand throughout the facility. These are more concentrated plantings in here, and most of these plantings, we have the signage. So throughout the distillery we have some areas where there's signage, but we have some very unique plants. One of the unique plants that we have, not so unique as daylily, but we do have a lot of unique varieties of daylilies. So okay. I want to say we have close to 100 different varieties of daylily. And by our gift shop, you'll see one that I was fortunate enough to get to name after the distillery. It's called Buffalo Trace Bourbon. It's very unique, and I believe it's for sale to the public. But it's a beautiful daylily that is unique and named after our distillery. So you can see a lot of them are out of bloom now. We have the last bit of bloomers down at the end, but daylily, you come in late May, early June, it's gorgeous up here with the different daylily blossoms. And these, like I said, the garden has a lot of interest throughout the seasons. You can see the Rudbeckia, all the gold in the background, it's Rudbeckia. So there's always something going on in the gardens, and that's the intent. We want people to be able to enjoy it year round.
Yeah, and I think that's a big separator and a something to hang your hat on too, Dennis. All the great work you and your team has done. It's not just about the bourbon when you come to the distillery, and the grounds are beautiful, historic, and I think showing this off even more is going to be great.
Well, it is about the bourbon. It's about the bourbon. It's about the history, and it's about embracing that history. And the unique thing on Buffalo Trace is we have such a rich history that to encapsulate it all, you have to really look at all these different aspects of this site. You're not going to find a site like this anywhere else in the world. So I believe the people here, the whole team, appreciates that fact and appreciate that we're in a special place here, and we really want to honor that tradition of keeping our history alive and letting the public enjoy it as well.
Yeah, it's just such a well-rounded experience when you come out here. Even the smells,
Oh yeah,
amazing.
yeah. And this is a great, I think all the smell comes this way, up the
Yeah.
hill and over this way, so it's absolutely great.
And I noticed one of the little warehouses, that Warehouse X.
Yeah, that's Warehouse X, our experimental warehouse. So one of the, I had mentioned earlier about why we call it Stony Point. So at the end of our driveway, you see a stone wall that the Home Place team built. That was built out of stone that came out of the excavation for that building. So Stony Point has a lot of stones, believe it or not. So we had, instead of getting rid of all those stones, we of course said we can do stuff with that. So we have repurposed it throughout the gardens and actually throughout the facility. But Warehouse X is an experimental warehouse where they do experimental bourbons.
Yeah, and I like that it's all surrounding. You get the warehouses, you can see the water tower, right here from the gardens. It's pretty special.
I definitely have a great place to work. It's great to be able to walk outside and enjoy the fruits of the labor of all those that work here at the distillery. So it's I'm very blessed, and we encourage anyone to come out here and enjoy this, and there'll be more to come. So in the future, something to look forward to. I am in the process of making Buffalo Trace a level 2 accredited arboretum. So we are in process on that, and hopefully by the end of by next spring we should be an accredited arboretum. So I believe we have over 2,000 trees on this historic campus end of it, and over 200 species of trees, and we haven't even included the shrubs yet. So we are well on our way, and hopefully next spring this time next year we'll be an arboretum.
Yeah, that actually leads me to one of the questions we had on Facebook was, there's a huge expansion going on with production and the bourbon, and what expansions are happening with the gardens, and I think you just answered it with the arboretums.
Yeah, definitely always something going on. We do have a master plan we work off of for the Home Place, and it is an evolving master plan, so it continues to grow and expand, and there's here at Buffalo Trace, we're always looking to get better, so we're always striving for better. So we're constantly doing things to make the grounds look better and for everybody to enjoy. So
We did have one question about the house, Stony Point, and it says, is that Colonel Blanton's permanent residence when he was alive?
Yeah, so he had built it in 1933 and lived there to 1957 when he passed away. And I'm sorry, it might be 59. I mixed those years up. I believe that sunroom right up there is he had made that his room for a while. So
Okay. And
yes, he did live here.
Well, great, Dennis. We try to keep this around 15 minutes. I know you're a busy guy. How many acres at the distillery do you manage?
So with the farm included, we're up over 400. I believe it's 450 or so acres. And then the campus that you see here and beyond, the historical parts, around 125.
And is there a certain amount of gardens? Would we say there's 3 botanical gardens, or do you just count it all as one big garden?
So we call this up here at Stony Point, we actually call it's the Albert Blanton, his Botanical Gardens and Bird Sanctuary. Although, like you mentioned, at the clubhouse we have beautiful gardens around the clubhouse. So we have more gardens. We kind of call this the Botanical Gardens, but the gardens are throughout. We're constantly doing things around the distillery to make the experience for everybody a little bit more pleasurable.
Great, thank you, Dennis. Is there any closing words for our viewers? Or
No, we just welcome everybody. Please tell your friends, stop by. In the future we'll have some up-and-coming things, the Arboretum, and some educational things perhaps, so just stay tuned, and that's all I got.
All right. Well, thanks, Dennis.
All right, thank you.